How did Asian Americans come to be a political identity? An identity composed of so many ethnicities yet unified under the name Asian American. Like most struggles for equality and representation, it took a great injustice to mobilize a community. On June 19, 1982, a Chinese American man named Vincent Chin was beaten to death in Detroit. One of his attackers, Ronald Ebens, was a superintendent at a Chrysler plant.
Preordained to be, I guess. It just happened.
At that time, the American automobile industry was facing competition from Japanese imports.
When it started, America was unprepared. From across the ocean they came. Little cars, determined to change the buying habits of a nation. And for a while, there was no stopping them.
In 1980, 2 years before the attack, American auto firms lost $4.3 billion, and an estimated 500,000 workers in automobile and related industries were laid off. The economic climate increased tensions between white Americans, Japanese, and people perceived to be Japanese, leading to discrimination against Asian ethnics. Misplaced anger played a significant role in the Vincent Chin case. As the case unfolded, his attack was seen more and more as a hate crime motivated by racial prejudice. Ronald Ebens and his stepson Michael Nitz were given 3 years probation and a $3,000 fine. Ebens was retried in 1987 and was cleared of all charges. Neither of the two attackers spent a day in jail. Many people were angered by the verdict. If it had been an Asian attack on a white man, they said, he would have been put in jail for life.
I don't know what kind of law in America. We pay the tax, it's the same. We only the skin taste different, but the heart is the same.
The injustice of the case brought many people together. Not only did his attack bring together the Chinese community, it inspired the formation of a coalition of people that crossed ethnic lines. Their point of unification was justice.
Justice for Vincent Chin! Justice for Vincent!
He think that we owe him some kind of a gratitude because we, the people, Chinese people here, all united against his judgment.
Though not a rebellious figure directly, Vincent Chin's death inspired a rebellious movement.
From the very beginning of our background, our parents have always taught us to be very low-key and not to participate in activities or even in politics. So the Asian Americans have been always in the background and reluctant to speak out.
To change image of Asian people, our image of passiveness, able to sit, just do nothing, just accept whatever is coming to us. We decide it's a time to stand up for our rights.
The Vincent Chin case gave rise to groups that advocated for the protection of Asian civil rights. In 1983, American Citizens for Justice was founded to serve the Asian Pacific American communities of Michigan and to fight for the civil rights of all Americans. His death and the rallying behind it gave Asian Americans greater visibility. It gave rise to a stronger, more assertive voice for Asian Pacific Americans. At a time when most civil rights issues were focused in a black-white binary, Vincent Chin's case brought Asian American civil rights issues into the discussion. Vincent Chin couldn't have known his contribution to Asian Pacific American history before his death. However, he has become a martyr for the Asian Pacific American movement because his story inspired the formation of a pan-Asian political identity. He brought about a political consciousness that went beyond local communities and ethnic lines, and made a once divided group of people realize their commonalities. Not only did his case speak to Asian Americans, it also resonated with the Black community. His death was likened to Rosa Parks' protest in mobilizing people to stand up against civil rights injustices.
Martin Luther King was killed. Jesus the Christ was killed. When your time has come, no bullet can stop you, no jail cell can contain you, no graveyard can hold your body down. For those who have been locked out, our time has come.
His story has not only inspired Asian Pacific American coalitions and multiracial coalitions. His case impacted the justice system by revealing its flaws and opening it up to change. In part, because of his case, victims' families are now able to testify during the sentencing phase. The Supreme Court also addressed having mandatory minimum sentencing guidelines. In Vincent Chin's death, we find a tragedy, but also an awakening. His legacy will never be forgotten.
I got the blues.